Hi Lee, how are you? Happy
Hey,
Monday.
good. How are you?
I'm fine. Lee, I just started a cloud native group here in Islamabad. So I am just thinking about I think you are also running a cloud native Austin group as well. Have you created a website for that group as well, or just kind of a meetup?
Yeah, just meetup. Um, because yeah, just so much to do. I like it's generally a helpful thing, I think. Like generally you can custom curate your pictures and um, I don't know, it's a way of potentially getting people engaged a bit more if they can like maybe have a place to post the presentations that they gave. I've seen some places doing custom sites. More often than not, I don't see them doing custom site, something separate site, but yeah.
So I'm thinking about creating a website for that for our group as well. But most people are doing meetup kind of a thing. But I think I prefer own website for our channel as well because you can do all kind of a cool stuff, sharing video, and it's kind of a. If, I think it's kind of a good that you have a own website. I'm asking my friends they are working on open source. They have creating a website for that. So for cloud native groups, there's any kind of a logo. Uh, what kind of a logos people are using for their? I've seen cloud native logo.
Yeah, I mean that's an official like the the group that I run, it's one of the first in the world to become an official CNCF sponsored meetup. And so yeah, there's a program for um, CNCF meetups, or rather, I'm sorry, there's a program for meetups to become like CNCF sponsored, and they're in the process of changing it and moving away from meetup.com and moving to Bevy, events.meetup.com. All right,
Uh,
good. Good. So we've got, so maybe Simon, maybe we can chat on that later.
yes.
All right, so we've got Adina, VJ, Kush, Sime. I thought we had one other, or we did for a minute. Yep, there we go. And Udit. All right, fair enough. We've got the meeting minutes. Feel free to jump on in. We've got a couple of topics going on today. I was hoping we might be able to have Lidor or Jesus. And Jesus says, he's got, he's working, so he's got a conflict. If we get a chance to talk about his area, he'll watch the recording. But hopefully what he's got described, oops, that's not it. The one that he has described is a really old one. Conceptually, it's very straightforward. So hopefully he's okay. All right. Is Abhishek with us just yet? No, I will ping him in case, Kush, I know you guys wanted to verbally chat on the Git command subroutine. Did you guys come to a resolution?
No, actually, we thought that it would be better if we could be on a call and we can discuss that what all possibilities can be there.
Okay. So I just messaged him to see. We'll see if maybe he makes it on toward the end. Yeah. On this though, did you? I'll pull it up for others to see. Do you feel like you have a good understanding as to why he originally put it in?
Yes, so it was put it in because was not there, and if I run Meshery CTL on my local machine, like in my development version, so to assign the value of get version and server version from the get command, so this was run as a preliminary command, so that if I make Meshery CTL, make run local build, and afterwards, if I try to build Meshery CTL, the values of the get version and server version will automatically be populated. So I won't be getting like not defined or not set.
Yep, very good. Yeah, you do have the correct understanding. And then, so the issue that you had opened was to remove that subroutine from, each of the make commands. And
So the subroutine was not added to each of the make command. So like for the production build in the Docker file, we don't have the subroutine. So if someone grabs Meshery CTL and he tries to build it on local, then there will be like not set. There will be an there will be error that the server version is not set. So the following only works on local. So like if I build a local Meshery
oh,
CTL binary and if I try to run it, then only it would work.
oh,
So
I
what
see.
I was thinking is if we could add the following subroutine in the Docker file, and if we could remove the subroutine from each and every command, and we can just call it in some command which is like which is run always, or we can add it in a we can add it in a pre-flight check for Meshery CTL.
That makes a ton of sense to me. Yeah, particularly the first, so okay. I guess to give everyone just a little bit of context, hopefully you understood what Kush had said was that there's an open issue to remove, or I'm sorry, to not necessarily remove, but to update all of the areas that we're calling um, this routine right here, Git. The routine is just grabbing the latest commit SHA, or the commit SHA of the latest release, and it's grabbing that latest release tag. And that's useful in two areas. The first area that it's useful in is when you as a contributor are building Meshery CTL, the command line client, and you're working on Meshery CTL version, the subcommand version. In order to test out your code well and whether or not your logic works about how the version is being retrieved and displayed, this subroutine is very helpful for that. Because without it, you don't have a commit SHA or a version number. And so Kush, of one of the proposals of the 2 points that we're looking at, the second point about where to include this subroutine, I would suggest is probably here, right? It's probably in Meshery CTL that we would add Git, so that those that are developing on Meshery CTL for that version command can see the. And then the other issue, which is actually a bug right now, if anyone has Meshery CTL available, and maybe I'll just pull mine up. I've just got it installed through Brew. So I just pulled up a new session here. So I've got Meshery CTL installed on Brew. If I type version, I get the locally built-in version tag for the client. This is for Meshery CTL. When Meshery CTL was built and released, it was released with this tag number and this commit SHA. And that's great. That's really helpful information as we go to help users and troubleshoot. What isn't quite yet working though, there is code there for it to work. But I think, Kush, what you're pointing out is that like we're not originally setting what this version number is. So even though Meshery CTL, the client, is querying the server, the Meshery CTL, I'm sorry, the Meshery server. Why didn't that work? Why not?
System status.
Yeah. Wow, thanks. Even though, yeah, Meshery server is running, there's an endpoint now that will list out your version number. Even though that's there, that endpoint is there. I don't think that that endpoint is being set. It should be being set inside of the workflow though. And then, so Kush, this is a little bit bothersome because the second part of what you were, part of the fix that you were suggesting, I'm not sure that that's a great suggestion. It makes sense to me, although I'm not sure that it'll fix it. I think what you were saying is, hey, in the Docker build command that gets run during a production build, or a release, invoking these same things makes sense. We want to include that in the Meshery server, and we were supposed to be. We look at so we go through, we kind of go all the way to the bottom where we build the container and release the image. So here, Docker, we're building, we go through set properties file with release tag. So here, we're going out, and if the pull request that's compiling this, that's invoking this workflow, has a release tag, then go ahead and grab the commit SHA and the release tag and push those into a file, properties.yaml. Now, while I think that file is included in the image, yeah, we will have to talk to Abhishek to get this resolved, because I think at one point he was considering that maybe we wouldn't reference the properties.yaml file.
Are we even referencing properties.yaml file anywhere in the code right now?
Right. Yeah.
I don't guess it is the case. Like, I don't see we have referenced it here anywhere.
Right. Right. Yeah. I think he was considering under this version command to that these would be available as environment variable. I mean, he and I talked about this quite a bit. Like the original thinking was that we would write it into the properties.yaml, that we would have it on the image. I mean, we've been talking about this since we created this working group, actually. And I think for whatever reason, there was better logic about having it included as an environment variable. And so inside this version command, there's a place for holding well, it says build and commit SHA. I would expect that this would be tag or release number, but
So since we have the build and commit SHA, we just grab the following details from the GitHub API. Like, do we even need environment variables now? Since the client and server are not independent right now, and both are maintained in the same repository.
Right. Yeah, it's a good. The reason that there's, I mean, these are small reasons, but they're generally a good principle, is that you want it to be static, because the real-time nature of that lookup can get you in trouble, because you would at least have to build in the commit SHA and go look up which release tag is related to that commit SHA, because otherwise you'd be looking up in real time and the builds might have moved on, and the releases might have moved on. And so for that reason, you want to have them baked in also, to the extent that people, now it doesn't happen often anymore, but a lot of times people will lock down their environment so that you can't, it's an air gapped environment. So that meaning that they would disallow something like Meshery to reach out to the internet.
So just hard coded then, like.
Right. Yep, that's what that properties.yaml was to be, was hard coded and just available for something like this version command to read in and present as a well, I'm sorry, not this version command wouldn't read it in, but the Meshery server would. So maybe, yeah, this is something to raise back up with Abhishek. Like we need to go look at the handlers that he has. And so this is probably longer than this call, but what handler he has and what it's doing. If I remember, I think he's trying to move over to environment variables.
Server spike handler.
Yeah. So I'm there. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see. So, okay. All right. Let's go to the next one. So actually, one of the next ones, Kush, is some work that you'd been doing on automating labeling of PRs so that we're then able to include some of that logic in the workflow.
So actually, the following action has already been incorporated in the Meshery temp repo.
And would you want me to share that, or would you like to?
Like I just dropped in the link for the.
Oh, all right. Nice. So this is a GitHub action that allows you to define, based on which file paths, what label to associate to the PR.
So like if you will go into the pull request section, the recent 3 pull requests have been automatically labeled.
Okay, go into the PR section, or which one?
Okay. Yes, the PR section.
So this JavaScript.
The 113 and 112. The first one is automatically labeled by Dependabot, and the second, third, and fourth.
Nice. So in here, you did a test change to a file inside the docs folder when you submitted the PR. Nice. And so I mean so I guess the question here is, hey, do these folders, does this mapping look correct? And would we be able to expand this a bit to bring this to include a few more folders in here for Go?
Yes, so the configuration file is still incomplete. Like if you will see into the docs folder, I have just included directories which contains the markdown files. And if the following change is not made in the following directories, then label language Ruby will be assigned. Since we are doing on a Jekyll based theme. And then for the Golang file, every file with format.go will be assigned the following label. And then we can have a server change for the label server. Any file which has been changed in the handler section will be assigned server. Any file which has been changed in the Meshery CTL section will be assigned Meshery CTL. And then for the JavaScript, I give the following
Wait,
relations.
wait, I'm sorry to interrupt. Where you're talking about a configuration different from this one, right?
Yep,
Where is it?
I haven't. I have not pushed it yet.
Oh, I see. Do you want to? Okay. Okay, but got it. All right. So, but this is a good proof of concept. Hey, that this action works. We can, and I think you consider that you've probably got the real config. I don't think that there's any harm in pushing that to the Meshery repo, because even if it's wrong, like it's just labels at this point, right?
So, like the main issue which we're having was like there were many labeler actions, and we were having hard time to decide like what should we choose. So this was the labeler action, which is written by, which is recognized as official GitHub action, and is also maintained by GitHub maintainers. So I thought that we should give it a try, and coincidentally, it satisfies all of the use cases which we have right now at the case. Like once we have this, then we can go for using the CI, like based CI actions.
And that logic, will we end up just writing that as more? Let me see if there was an example. More or less, just tests or cases in here. Not sure. Like this will just be like an if statement that we'll have for.
Yes.
Okay.
So like this is the only case which GitHub Actions provide right now. Like even their official docs listed that they have no use case for this right now.
Any other feedback, comments for Kush?
Lee, that is a great work by Kush. Actually, that's people are asking about this feature, a laborer feature, and this we're discussing for last 2 or 3 months that we have. Actually, that's a good feature. But one thing that I need to know, that if somehow if we need to restructure our project in a future or somewhat need some kind of folder, we have to just change the GitHub action, or just change what kind of changes we need to done, and that I need to know.
And Kush, I'm assuming you'll speak to that. I'm assuming it's an update to the config, the labeler.yaml.
Yep.
And so, Simon, does that make sense? So this labeler.yaml here is like there's kind of two things I think that would probably need to change. Like if at some point we broke out the docs from the current repo and put them somewhere else, I think we would update the the if statements that we would have included, the conditional logic that we would have included inside of the ci.yaml workflow, the main workflow. And then the second area would be the configuration of the file system mapping to label. We would need to update that config. And so
Actually, I think that this feature brings up to the another feature that's I am really struggling in the GitHub Actions right now. I am using Azure DevOps in the form of the Microsoft cancer. I have let's say I have 3 projects. That's a web project and one the testing project and some APIs project. I have 3 project listing in the one repo. So the Azure DevOps gives us the flexibility that we have artifacts to kind of build the artifacts strategy. And every time you build to a certain project, it doesn't trigger the events on other projects. And I think peoples are right now claiming that feature in the GitHub action. And I think that has to be opens right now in the issues in the GitHub actions right now. So moving that up, if I, right now we have our in a Meshery project, they have three docs folder, Meshery CTL, Meshery server features. So these are the I think they have come up with a few months after they have the artifact built in. So when you have trigger a pull request, they generated that an artifact, and based on that artifact, they know these are the filter we have to need to be changed, and it doesn't impact the other folder that are listing in. So kind of a good feature, and I think we have a learning path as well in this kind of a category. And I think we have to kind of update the docs as well or not in the build and strategy. I have seen that, but I don't see this updation in docs.
Just to recap that, was it that you're saying in Azure DevOps, they have the ability to apply conditional logic based on the artifact that was produced?
Yeah, actually, I've used in the past for our Angular project that's are in the front end, and then we have a testing project of APIs in written in the .NET world, .NET, and plus they have written in the some testing testing folder that's creating the testing of APIs. So I have 3 projects running in the same folder, and kind of a, thinks that if a developer just changes the front end code, it doesn't need to update anything in the APIs folder of the .NET world and the testing folder of the .NET world. It just checking out to need to know just that front end changes and just automatically trigger events. So I think these Microsoft are working on the GitHub action as well. And once that feature is available, I think we have not to panic about doing extra rough stuff. But right now we're doing a great job in incorporating laborers. But I think in the community we have to ask this kind of a study as well, so other maintainers that these things are incorporated, and whenever you need to do that, then these are the steps we have to take. So I think labels kind of a tedious work is label is going to be tedious in the long run because we have every member coming in the community when we have to prepare that up for that. So you have to do certain kind of strategies in order to do that. So hopefully, I am looking for this feature quite a while. Looking forward, communicating with the persons and need to know what Microsoft are doing in that world.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Huh. So part of the point there is that updating, like minimally updating this document will help with just keeping track of how the whole process works. Yeah. So speaking of that, there's as we look to build out the edge channel and understand how that affects the stable channel, there's some documentation, kind of tentative or draft documentation on the edge channel in here. That we do need to have a new section on the automated labeling. There's kind of 2 documents that are close in nature. So there's this build and release strategy, which is probably the right area. One for the work that hopefully Jesus will be able to do on automated release notes. And then also this work on automated labeling. There's this other doc, it's the GitHub process where we've captured the fact that we have a common list of issue labels. kind of what they're for and their colors. And hopefully this is ubiquitous across all the repos. It's not yet, but at least the more significant repositories, they have these labels. Hopefully most of these would be reusable on the pull requests. Maybe there's the need for another conversation on these. I'm not sure yet. But just capturing down the fact that we have certain bots is good, just even if we don't have the config, just to be aware. Another one is what actions it is that we're using, even if it's just a list. But the actual config, maybe, I mean, so I don't know, I guess we could go either way. Either we can have the config of what they're doing in here. It might make more sense to have it in here because this document's a bit more verbose, where it's intended to really explain what's going on. Push, do you want to
Lee, anyone did I who is maintaining that docs right now?
between the, I think Kush originally authored much of the GitHub labels one, and then Isuko, myself, and there was one or two others that commented, but Kush has been doing a lot of that. The build and release strategy has been, I hate to say it, but I guess I've been behind the scenes on both of those docs quite a bit. But that's not the intention. It's because people aren't doing it as much. Now the interesting
to engage with Lidor from the last 2 weeks, but I think he's really busy right now, and so I couldn't try to meet with him. So these are the things that I want to discuss with him because he's a guy who's doing that kind of stuff in a real job, and he has a better ideas as well. So right now Lidor is so busy, so some kind of things are pending because I need to discuss with him to doing that effectively.
right. Yep. Yeah. Hopefully when you do, he'll talk about the edge channel a fair bit. That would be good. So,
Yes, yeah, definitely the ad channels. But right now, the last 3 weeks, I trying to engage with him, and he is so busy. And when he is available to join, I am doing a sleep right now because it's 2 or 3 a.m. In my area. So very difficult for us.
ouch. Yeah. Last item of the day, I think, is VJ. I don't know if this is potentially an area of interest for you, but as we've established these two different channels, whereas a Meshery user, you download and install Meshery and you run it, the default assumption is that you want to run the stable channel. And so, without doing anything special, you'd just be running the stable channel. But if there's new features coming, or if you're one of the contributors, you might want to run the edge channel, which is like, very frequent builds of code that may or may not work the best. It would be nice if we gave people a convenient command to like switch between, what channel they're on, what channel their system is configured to. I don't know that you've gotten to spend much time inside of Meshery CTL, but it's kind of a nice smaller code base that if you were to implement this, it would probably be, there'd be a little bit of manipulating YAML. So like, so VJ, if you're interested, just ping me or say something in the channel and we'll lay it out. Does anybody have anything else? We're just a few minutes over. Nice. So Kush, good to go forward, I think, with the config that you have for Labeler on Meshery itself. Oh,
Sure.
nice. Okay. Thank you, Vijay. And then, yeah, Simon, if you do, yeah, when you, if it ever happens that you catch up with Leader, yep, the Edge channel is our, is needed.
Hopefully in the future, I will catch up.
Nice. Okay, Adina, anything? Are we good?
Yeah, I'm good. I have no comment, but I said that I will join at least to follow up what's going on. It's easy if I'm in the meeting. I have more energy for the week. So
Yeah. Good.
thanks.
Cool. Good. Okay. All right, well, Vijay, I'll catch up with you. We'll try to do you right this time by writing down what it is that we're trying to accomplish. So cool. Okay. Talk to you all very soon. See you guys.
See you. Bye bye.
Bye.